Senator Gary Kaminsky, and we begin the hour, Gary, with some great reporting on your part, going back to a conference that John Corzine was at in May. Tell us about it.
You know, Q, you know when you wake up in the middle of the night and you seem to have one of those recollections, and it was exactly in May of this past year when many of us were out at the SALT conference, and John Corzine was on a panel speaking to our own Kate Kelly, talking about a number of things related to regulation, recession in the country, and he was specifically asked about his recollections of the collapse of Lehman, September 2008, and this idea of what it's like to have a frozen account or money or not having access to cash in a money market. Let's take a listen to what he had to say that day.
In the time frame around the Lehman Brothers issue, someone called me and said they couldn't get money out of their money market fund, and what does that mean? And my next call was to the treasurer to make sure that we were actually managing our cash flow in a way that the state would be in a position to respond, because that's a pretty shocking telltale. So, then I went out and got drunk after that.
I mean, Carl, is that not one of those crazy things? Obviously, you know, a little tongue-in-cheek there at the end. Maybe not. But the fact is, for those that want to question whether or not Corzine was a detail-oriented CEO, I mean, he essentially said back in 2008, he went down to the treasurer's office. He essentially wanted to make sure they had access to all the accounts, all the cash that they thought was cash or cash equivalents. So certainly, if this is going to be something that others may look at, this is not a person who did not leave the details to somebody else.
Yeah, no, that's hands-on management right there. I want to get Rick Santelli's reaction, too. Rick sort of reminds you that he had access to power, he understood power, and he knew where his bread was buttered.
Yeah, no, it's first of all, I never want to hear anybody in power on a stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people talk about going and getting drunk afterwards. I'm sorry. It didn't play well. It doesn't play well, and it leads me right to the exchange, Carl. We have to start with MF. So there's a hearing today after the shocking news yesterday that the losses may have doubled to $1.2 billion. Now, we still don't have a lot of details, but the one detail we still have, and I'm going to keep talking about, a dozen traders again come up to me today saying, where is my accurate balance? If October 31st, the bankruptcy date, is a date of record, but a bunch of checks were written on accounts that weren't cashable and yet still reflect that balance being missing on the date of record. These poor people have no idea when those bad checks are going to resubmit into their bad accounts where they have their money. And to think that Mr. Corzine was talking about these issues that, you know, where's the money? We need to follow the money. And what? We're 22 days after the bankruptcy. We know very little. These people need their accounts straight for a day of record so they can put this money back on track. As far as the super committee, what have you heard constantly? Balanced approach, balanced approach. It might be good for marketing, might be good for checking the polls, might be good for campaigning, but here's the balanced approach nobody's talking about. Balanced approach of fiscal and monetary policy. A balanced approach doesn't mean balanced debt and balanced taxes, because as Grover Norquist, who's getting berated, holds politicians' feet to the fire because the people can vote for whoever they want, for issues they want. And if they want a certain representative or congressman or senator to promise something before he goes to serve, that's their right. Last of all, $35 billion in 5 years. Will the world want them? Of course they want them. We'll grade it today at 1 Eastern. I'm done.
Okay.